So first off, nice to meet everybody. Thanks for taking some time and joining us. We're partnered today with Carl and the team over at T-Systems. These guys do a lot of work around the SAP stack, and that's our conversation today. We're talking about what people are doing on their roadmaps, kind of the path and march to S4, if you will, or whatever it might be. Maybe it's HANA, maybe it's different application stacks, maybe it's hosting in the cloud. The idea here is pretty simple. We're going to go around our group. We're going to learn from each other's experiences and kind of get a snapshot what some other organizations are doing. This is an interactive session. There's no preset sales pitch here. That's not our forum. And I know many of you have joined our sessions before. We're doing the same thing. We're just doing it with some video. And so I'm going to moderate it. I'm going to go around the group and I'm going to ask some pretty embarrassingly high-level questions about what's going on with SAP in your environment. And then I really want to encourage you all to leverage the group of professionals that we have around the group here. So just raise a hand, and there's a really simple reaction tool on there. You can drop your questions into chat. And at the end of the session, we're going to send around everyone's name. And if you want to do some follow-up, Bridget, you want to talk to Alex or Alex with Scott, what have you, you know what? We'll always be happy to help connect people. So you just have to ask. By the way, I think we're going to do $100 for for the best Zoom backdrop. Alex, you're coming in strong with your entry there. It looks ridiculously amazing. Sandy, I like your backdrop. Bill, Scott, everybody, but $100 best Zoom backdrop. All right, I know. Carl, let's get you in here. Do me a favor, give a quick intro to the group. Just tell the group, what is T-Systems for people who may not have good familiarity, and where's your focus?
All right, so my name is Carl Westphal, as we mentioned. I'm the head of portfolio unit SAP. So that includes our SAP services as well as our emerging technologies like IoT, digital solutions, all of that. But T-Systems is a big provider of SAP. In fact, you may not know, we are the largest single hosting provider of SAP in the world. We're the largest SAP hosting company in the world. So we're out of Germany. We're headquartered out of Germany. Everybody asks, are we T-Mobile? No, we are a sister company, if you will. We both are companies that report ultimately to the board of Deutsche Telekom, right? So from an SAP standpoint, we have a very large market presence in Europe and other parts of the world. And we support large global customers here and local customers, if you will, in North America, right? So we have this, as a company, we have a full portfolio of services that include your traditional ICT, outsourcing, hosting, public cloud, private cloud, all of those types of solutions. And then obviously we have an SAP practice, and that SAP encompasses everything from transformation to hosting, basis, all the way up the stack of SAP services, right? Including AMM, AMS. So so we provide the full stack of SAP services. We're a global platinum partner with SAP. I mean, you can imagine being a German company, we have a very tight affiliation with SAP. So we actually share members of boards and those types of things. So we've been with SAP for, a very close partner of SAP for a very long time. When SAP looks to do things on a global scale, they reach to T-Systems. One of the biggest thing has been recently throughout Germany was the Corona Warn app that was co-developed by T-Systems and SAP, right? So it was the contact tracing and all of that for the entire country of Germany. So they rolled that out, and really what was about 6 weeks from conception to deployment. So that, obviously for things like that, they reach out to companies like T-Systems. But again, I think what's important for this group is that we do the full stack of SAP services. And we have many partners that help us as well to do that. So we can bring a lot of capability.
Awesome. Well, Carl, I'm going to ask everybody, Q&A and the environment. I'm going to start with you, though. You and I have done this before.
Yep.
what's been happening here over the last 6 months? Not the knee jerk of COVID, but like,
Right.
what have you seen happen to roadmaps?
Yeah.
Basically.
I think it's really come down to two things. The initial was let's hold and defend, right? Let's stabilize. Let's make sure everything's working. Let's transition to a remote workforce. Let's make sure that the core business functions are stable and reliable, right? And that was phase one, right, of maintaining that. And then there was kind of a quiet period, I would say, throughout most of the summer was a pretty quiet period. And now we're seeing a lot more companies starting to do the next phase, which is assessments, right? We're seeing a lot of people looking at their data, looking at their functionality, and saying, all right, let's start getting ready. Whether that's for budgeting purposes in 21, whether that's for road mapping, but it's now we're starting to see we're getting very active with assessments and planning and workshops and those types of things to help them make decisions about their roadmap.
Is that about moving it to a hosted, or is that about, starting to move to S4? When you say assessments, what does an assessment include?
It's a little bit of both, but I would say primarily it's about moving it to S4, right? So it's what is that effort really going to look like? Where is the complexity? Where do we specifically as a company have challenges, right? And what does that look like for us? Because there's a lot of boilerplate stuff out there. But now companies are saying, great, how do you personalize this for me?
Yeah.
And help me understand. So whether it's a matter of planning or whether it's a matter of budget, I need to start getting my hands around this.
I would love, so I want to go around our group here and let's jump right in to do it. But I'm going to ask for a volunteer. What's the reason why you go to S4 outside of SAP saying you got to go to S4, which is a pretty good reason? Yeah. Performance, cost, productivity would be the best, but can somebody jump in and explain why you want your organization to go to S4? Oh, come on, let's get a volunteer. I can jump around for sure, but I'd like to hear from somebody who's thinking about it, and I'm sure S4 is on somebody's roadmap here. All right, I'm gonna I'll go alphabetically here. Altilio, you on the line with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Hey, thanks for joining. So tell me, where are you with SAP?
Currently, I kind of dabbled in it a little bit in my previous title, but currently I'm not using SAP. What I use it for is running reports, pretty much just maintain the reports and running the reports within SAP is what I used it for.
Gotcha. And so I got it. So you're, and what versions of SAP are you on?
This was about 5 years ago, so it was older versions.
Okay. And is, I'll just, high level here, what are some of the initiatives you're working on with regards to SAP in your environment?
Currently, I am not. I wanted to join the discussion to learn more, pretty much, to see as much as I can, within this discussion. So currently, I am not. Currently, I'm supporting an application called NetCash within BBVA, and it's a corporate online banking application, mobile and internet. That's what I'm currently doing.
All right, got it. All right, very good. I'm going to work around. Let's go to, I'm going to invite Sandy in. Sandy, do me a favor, give a quick intro. Tell us about SAP over at Columbia Business School.
So I work in Columbia University.
Oh, Sandy, we're not hearing you, man. We see you, but we don't hear you.
Is that better?
Oh, that's it. It was a mic error.
It's always the downfall. So I work at Columbia University. We specifically within the area of account management and provisioning accounts and security. SAP side, I'm here just as the previous person to learn a little bit more see what I could bring back to the company and to the organization and see how this would
Got
fit
it.
for us.
What's your underlying application platform?
We're working with on Python, Perl, just a little bit of everything. It's a university, so we take a little bit of everything, whatever fits
Not
for
open
the
sourced.
solution.
Oh, I'm
sorry?
talking about business. I'm talking about ERP. You know, how do you know, where do your financials sit?
Oh, the financials. That's not something I'm really deep into with the how they're what systems we're using, but
Got it.
yeah.
All right. Well, you're welcome to sit back and listen. I'm going to keep going here. Let's go to Ravi. Ravi, tell us about SAP over at Advanced Energy.
We have both SAP and Oracle. With acquisition, we got Oracle and SAP. So we haven't really decided on which ERP to choose as a to-go, right? So we have multiple options we are looking at. So one of them is going into the S-4 Hana. And another one is going to Oracle Cloud. Then other one is just upgrading the existing on-premise SAP and bringing the Oracle into that SAP. So like totally, we are looking at the 4 different options, and that's we are kind of in the evaluation phase.
Yeah.
In Q1 of next year, we are going to really evaluate based on the business need and value proposition. But kind of I myself personally leaning towards just upgrading the existing SAP on-premise and bring the Oracle into the functionality or business into the SAP ERP. Then we'll go from there. In the meantime,
How did you, Ravi, how did you end up with both SAP Cloud, SAP and Oracle Cloud?
Can you repeat your question, Greg?
Yeah. How'd you end up with both?
So with acquisition.
We spoke last time, Ravi. I remember this. We spoke last time in the last forum, I believe.
Yes, we did. Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
So tell us about the path that you're proposing here, Ravi. Tell us about the roadmap you're proposing in terms of, you know, whether you try and pull them together, whether you try and keep them parallel, you kind of, you know, create a stack for each. What are you thinking currently?
So the current thinking is first we have to really figure out what is the best fit for the business, right? And because that's the acquisition company is like in a high volume, low dollar, and the other one is kind of a high value, low volume, right? So that's the reason first we have to figure it out, which is the best fit. Then we'll take an approach of whether we want to really go into the on-premise or that cloud or whatnot, right? So that's the thought process we have. And in general, what we are going to do is we are going to do something in the 2021, which we don't know. The something is going to be decided in the Q1 of next year. We are just going with a completely open mind, right? So because we have a really equal size of the business on both sides, and we don't want to rough up the feathers on either side. You know, we want to really include everybody in the decision making and go forward, right?
Got it. Got it. All right, Ravi, do you have a question here for the group, for Carl or anybody here? What are you listening for?
So we just started another project with on the group reporting, which is based on S4, right? So that is mainly to consolidate those two. So I treat that as an edge application, mainly for the planning and consolidation. We do have IBP, but we did not like it, so we wanted to go to the next level. So when we go into this group reporting, we're kind of thinking of feeling that there is a constraints from the SAP in a way. We really wanted to go to the level of detail. The group reporting, it looks like it's not geared towards the level of details you want unless you are an S4 customer, or you are implementing the COPA related, you know, all of the kind of a universal journal, that kind of things. Otherwise, you will not get to the details of the drill down and all of those things. So I wonder whether, did you guys have the same experience, or do you even know anything in that area for the group reporting area?
I'll put it to the group because I don't know, but I
Yeah.
understand the question in terms of reporting. Let me do this. Let me go around the group and I'll build it into the questions that I asked.
Yep.
So let me call some folks out. I want to get Ustat Singh into the mix, Dave Boucher, and next year, let's go on over to Bill Gervasi. Hey, Bill, do me a favor. First, nice to meet you. Give a quick intro here to the group.
Well, I'm a low-level guy. I'm a memory technology supplier, and technology that I'm working on is to change the basic infrastructure of the servers on which you're running SAP. In my past lives, I've done database development, and so what I'm here to do is to absorb something about what are the concerns that you guys have, what are the factors that you're looking for, so that as I'm proposing my architectural changes to your suppliers, that we're able to connect the dots, that I make sure that I'm addressing real world concerns. So my customers are going to be guys like Oracle, Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, HBO. These are the people that are putting the infrastructures in place that are going to be serving up your applications. Like I say, I want to make sure I'm delivering the right solutions to them.
Your memory,
The whole,
your memory
whole
provider.
concept of in-memory databases, in-memory computing, all of that.
Yeah, the technology that I'm working on is, if you guys are interested in taking a second to hear about it, it's a carbon nanotube-based memory technology that runs at the speed of a DRAM, but stores data for 12,000 years. And so the concept of being able to do things at your lower levels, like the eliminating of checkpointing and the vast improvements that you can get by having in-memory databases, is greatly enhanced by not having to periodically stop your processing to throw things off to an SSD for your so that you don't lose data during your transactions. Similarly, our technology can be implemented directly into an artificial intelligence engine. So the AI, ML, DL guys can implement artificial intelligence architectures for acceleration that can distribute the memory resource instead of having to have it pulled in order to do that checkpointing.
Yeah, I think it brings up a good point, Greg. You know, and it touches on what Greg's talking about, but also a little bit about what Ravi was talking about. Is one of the intermediate steps that we're seeing for customers that aren't ready to go wholesale to S4 for whatever reasons, right? There's a variety of them. A lot of customers that aren't already in HANA, right, which is an in-memory, database solution from SAP, right? If they haven't made that move to HANA already, a lot of the ECC environments are either doing upgrades to the ECC and then taking it to HANA, right? And then in your case, Ravi, what some of our customers are doing is getting rid of their Oracle databases and moving them to HANA as a precursor to ultimately going to a consolidated S4 or whatever that solution is going to be ultimately. So you get the benefits that Bill's talking about in terms of a more in-memory database, the performance, the improved user experience, the improved reporting performance, Ravi, and then you can relook at your reporting structures and move that to in-memory, and you can take that step as an intermediate step without having to make the full cost commitment and full organizational commitment really to moving to S4. So it's a good intermediate step, and you're improving your user experience, within your customer, right, or within your user community.
Yeah, we're kind of doing that, Carl. We have the S4, the HANA sidecar. Now we're actually talking to SAP for the HANA cloud. But for the reporting side, we are actually kind of doing that so that our kind of executives can run seamless. Yeah, but it's a 2-3 years project, right? So I can't really.
Yeah, it's not a
Is it pretty much mandatory that if you're SAP, you have to go HANA? I mean, SAP
going forward,
moved
going
off
forward
of IBM years ago, right?
Yeah, going forward to S4, you will predominantly go HANA on scale. You'll see some. I mean, I would say smaller businesses, will still be able to probably stay SQL or other other platforms. But the clearly SAP's direction is HANA. They've made a large investment in that. And
Is
that's
that-
mainly just around the user experience, and the performance.
Well, that's what I was wondering. Is it just the licensing? Because you can get lots of fast databases and lots of fast EDW databases. But what I'm wondering, if I were to compare, and maybe I'm not comparing apples to apples here, but I don't know, a Teradata or a Snowflake, if I have a different flavor database that I'm running, and I'm SAP and I want to do some reporting in and out of it, do I still need HANA as as another layer to do my business intelligence and
Yeah, I can tell you, I'm a business warehouse expert, and all the new functionality is only available on the HANA database. So, in fact, the newest version of BW is HANA only, the BW for HANA version.
BW, right?
Yeah.
Dave, if you wanted to go, by the way, do me a favor, Dave, just give a quick intro here to the group.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so I'm Dave Bucher. I'm the kind of expert for BW in the Americas. Database, data analytics and business intelligence product owner for North America. But right now that's primarily SAP BW. So I've been doing BW myself for over 20 years, like literally when version 1.2 came out. So, and I work for Amer Sports. Just some of our brands are like Wilson, Solomon, Arc'teryx, Louisville Slugger. So we're kind of all over the map. Our current background is we've got ECC 6 in probably 75% of the world and brands. We have one brand that's running their own system that they had created from scratch probably 15 years ago when they were like a $1 million brand, and now they're 400 million. So they've outgrown that system. So they're pioneering our move to the S4 environment. So unfortunately, though, they're on 2 or 3 different platforms already. They're primarily on their own system, but some of that business being run out of ECC 6, and then even another system down in Australia that they just got off. So, I was going to say my biggest challenge right now is that project goes live the middle of next year. Is how do we report on this in a homogeneous way going forward? How do we convert all of this history into the same format as S4? Because simple things like just being able to see, for example, what were my sales at a particular customer over the last 5 years, when I've got history sitting in 3 or 4 different systems, becomes a real challenge. So that's kind of what we're tasked with right now, and what keeps us, up at night, I suppose.
So when you're ECC and it's really interesting. So how many different instances of SAP are you running, given you're kind of an umbrella of lots of different brands?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, it's one. They made a decision last year to take our China system, or I should say take our China business and put them on their own SAP system. We were purchased by a Chinese company about 2 years ago. I think that had something to do with it. That presents its own challenges as well, but that's going to remain that way. So even after 5 years, when we complete this S4 implementation, I believe China's going to remain on their own SAP system, which is an ECC 6 system. I'm not even sure what version it is, but it's definitely not an.
So how does the data layer work? Is it tied to, again, you're doing each brand, they all roll into a single SAP environment?
They do, yeah. So we're using SAP around the world. The challenge for us is, we pull all of this data into one BW system currently, but as part of the project, we're greenfielding a new BW4 HANA system because we know that that's the future. So, this bridge architecture is really the challenge for us because, for the next however many years, we're going to have all these businesses are bringing their data into our old BW on HANA, and now this one business is going to be putting their data on the BW4 HANA. So they're actually sitting on the same database. So we're currently trying to investigate to see if we could avoid copying the data. But the challenge is that the S4 is so different as far as what the data looks like compared to ECC that you don't even have commonality necessarily because there's not essentially a customer master. You have a business partner, for example, in S4. So we're trying to come up with ways to not duplicate the data, but that would work if you had common data structures, things like that. But it seems like S4 is so different that we're anticipating it's going to be difficult to do. But we're not there yet.
Can I ask you why? Maybe it's simple, but why HANA? I mean, are they just locking you in and saying you have to? We're not going to integrate into a SQL database on the back end, or are they, or is it really?
Well, I mean, the performance
would it be
is
the database you would choose if you had the flexibility to choose your database?
I mean, if you could choose a different in-memory database, maybe that would be a viable option. But I believe, and I'm more on the BW side, so I'm definitely not an expert on the ECC side. But I believe that some of the options are not available if you're not using the HANA database. I think they actually write the software specifically to work on a HANA database. And to be honest, I thought SAP on the ECC side was really pushing the cloud as opposed to an on-prem HANA version. I mean, they're still going to support the on-prem HANA, but I thought they were actually pushing the cloud version more.
So, yeah, Carl, that's probably a better one for you.
Yeah,
to
they
what
are.
extent are they pushing cloud?
Yeah, they definitely are pushing. SAP is definitely pushing that, but it's pushing it, not just like their cloud solution right now. Obviously, they have the partnership with Microsoft and with the partner network, right? So we are in many parts of the world, we are SAP's cloud.
Yeah.
And then obviously we work also with customers that want to do that, whether they want to do it on, we call it SAP on any cloud, right? So if you want to do it on AWS, you want to do it on Azure, you want to do it on Google Cloud, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, and I will say the one thing that we're doing on the ECC side is I believe they're really trying to limit the customization, because if you decide later that you want to put it on the cloud, you can't do it if you've customized to a certain extent.
And so, yeah, so being specific about that, if you use SAP's service, right? If you migrated into SAP's environment, yes, there's a couple of things. Number one, they're very restrictive about customizations and the process that you have to go through. It's very challenging. Also, they're very directive about maintenance, right? They will do maintenance on their schedule, and you will accept that, right? We're taking these down, and we're doing this, we're doing that. And for a lot of smaller businesses or smaller medium businesses that maybe don't have the staff or don't have a partner to maintain all that, it works, right? It's like, look, take care of it, and I'll put up with it. And I'll work it around my business. For larger enterprises, more complex enterprises, that just doesn't fly, right? You need a partner that's going to manage that for you, and work with you as a business partner to do those things in a way that complements your business, whether you're rolling out new functionality or all those types of things. So we have customers that have very strict maintenance windows. Companies like Juniper Networks and stuff like that. It's like, look, these systems have to be up and available. We have pharmaceutical or health related companies that are like, look, we're not taking downtime, at random when SAP wants to. We need a business partner that plans all this out, roadmaps it all out with us, and then works with us. But yeah, to your point, if you want it to be fully managed by SAP, they do offer a fully managed cloud solution. To be honest, I think they got in that business because they kind of felt like they needed to. And now they're really working with partners in Microsoft to find other ways to do that, right? I don't think at the end of the day, and this is just me speaking, SAP doesn't really want to be in the operations business. It's not their strength, right? They want to design really world-class ERP solutions, and they want to sell licenses, right? Yeah. But they need a strong network of partners and people to make sure that they, you as a customer get an outstanding experience, so you continue to purchase the product, right?
Hey, Carl, what's the biggest trade-off here? And what are you seeing customers do in terms of standing up there? Somebody wants to get out of the infrastructure business, right? They want to shut down a data center. So they can either go private cloud, or they can go and put it on Azure or AWS.
Right.
What's the primary path that you're seeing your clients choose? What's the give and take?
Boy, it's really hard to say. Oddly, you would think that the canned answer would be, public cloud. Everybody's going to AWS and Azure and Google Cloud and everything. Actually, we're seeing more and more companies coming to a private cloud solution. We're seeing a lot of that. So to get out of your business, they're moving it from their solution, right? They don't want to run the data center anymore. Hey, T-Systems, can you run it? Whether it's for data privacy reasons, whether it's for control or other type of reasons, we're seeing a fair amount of private cloud still. But definitely, the industry, if you talk to Gartner, if you talk to all these people, they'll say, you're seeing a 300-400% shift in the workload from on-prem or private cloud to public cloud. So there's definitely a momentum there, and SAP has fully embraced that model, as T-Systems. We call it any cloud. So the way we try to do it is we provide that whole administration, that whole layer that you see as a customer, whether it's for provisioning or whatever purposes, it looks the same, whether it's on our private cloud, whether it's on a public cloud solution, whether it's in a hybrid environment. We abstract that layer. And then, you know, really, I think in the future, it's going to be some combination of two. And frankly, customers don't want to, we're getting to the point where customers really don't want to talk infrastructure anymore, right? They want to talk functionality. They want to talk all of those types of things. And the infrastructure is truly becoming commoditized.
So I can understand manage. Look, I assume that they could hire T-Systems to manage SAP running on Azure if that's what they chose. But why, from an infrastructure perspective, would you want to stand up in a private T-Systems data center versus Azure? And where my mind is running is there a greater flexibility in terms of the type of infrastructure you'd stand up? Maybe you really want high performance, or maybe there's a better cost proposition of what a 5-year plan would be to put in the infrastructure that you really want, or I don't know. I'm just.
It's a combination of those things. You know, obviously, data privacy and security always becomes, you know, topic number one, right? You know, people, there's right or wrong, and people have different theories on this, but people have different concerns there. That's part of the conversation. Cost, ironically, in a lot of cases, depending on the size of the nature of the solution, and sometimes we're more cost competitive with a private cloud solution than the public cloud is, depending on how you use your data and how you move your data around. And in some cases, we're more cost competitive. And I think it's usually around those two types of topics, is in terms of which way they want to go. And then some companies now are getting, you know, now that, let's face it, public cloud's maturing, right? And now customers have had a contract with whether it's Azure or AWS, and they've run other solutions, so they're getting more and more comfortable, right? So maybe they want to have their production in a private cloud that's very controlled, very well managed, you know, all of those things. But they want to have environments, you know, sandbox, dev, maybe even QA, in a public cloud where they have a little more, they can get a little more freedom there, right? And they can have a little more flexibility in those environments. So again, those are all factors. Bill, I think you had a question.
Will you toss the infrastructure guy a bone here? When you talk about the move towards a standalone center as opposed to the Azure and AWS type infrastructures, are they still turning to the primary suppliers like the HPEs, Dells, and IBMs? Or is there another higher level consolidator who is taking that low level and packaging it up?
Yeah, good question. I mean, when we talk private cloud, don't mistake that as, hey, we're standing up racks of servers independently for each customer, right? We have a platform, right? And a lot of the things are shared resources, right? There's shared compute, there's shared storage, there's shared backup, you know. So it's a very much more sophisticated platform than just, hey, here's your servers, right? We don't typically do that. We can do that, but those are very rare cases. So it is a shared platform, and in that space, you'll see Hitachi, right? It may have advanced computing solutions in there. Actually, Dell and IBM also offer solutions in there. But I think, Bill, to your point, like Hitachi offers some, you know, platform computing type solutions that we leverage.
Got it. And let's keep.
I think Sandy had a question.
Circulating here, and maybe go on over to. Sorry about that, Bill. Let's go on over. I want to invite in Ustat Singh. Ustat, let's see if you're on the line with us.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Great, good to speak with you. So you're joining us from BP. I presume you're an SAP environment. Maybe you can tell us just a little bit about SAP there, what the environment looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for our business unit, we do have SAP HANA in Azure Cloud. We do have some old Oracle workloads that we are in the process of trying to retire. Um, and I just wanted to kind of add something. I wanted to jump in before. I wanted to add something about what you guys were talking about. When we're talking about private clouds and the public clouds, I mean, how do you compete with something, like that Google offers with their, live migrations and zero downtimes for deployments? I mean, sometimes it just, I don't know. I don't know. Why would someone not go for that versus going for something that's in the private cloud?
You'd be surprised. Cost becomes a factor, right? In terms of, and again, a lot of it, and it's hard because every use case is a little different. So you have to look at that customer's use case and how they size and how they move data around, those types of things. But while those features are awesome, if that's really valuable to you, then you go, yeah, that's really valuable to me. If you're a customer where you want, stability is your number one important and absolute cost reduction and those types of things, other features, other solutions might be more effective for you, for lack of a better word. It's hard to generalize without looking at the particular use case, but there are a number of factors. There's a lot of things that are great about public cloud, in terms of flexibility and some of the things that you mentioned, Yusat. Like I said, there's some other things where customers that are a little more conservative might want to have different feature set, or I shouldn't say might value different characteristics. Let me put it that way, differently.
You said I'd be interested in what you've learned. I'm sure and I'm sure you do lots of testing, lots of comparison. What have you learned for your environment in terms of maybe the direction you're taking it?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we have a pretty good partnership here with Microsoft, and, I think we're continuing down that path. In my previous life, we had, migrated just our SAP loads. So when I was at Deloitte, we were, doing our SAP loads in Google Cloud just because of their cloud offering. And, over there, we looked at everyone else's cloud offering as well. And just with some of the feature sets, maybe the pricing wasn't, it was a little bit higher, but, but all the feature sets that we wanted, I mean, it just made sense for us to use Google Cloud for it. So, I've been in some of the discussions previously, but as far as BP goes, I think we kind of have a path already that we're going to continue growing on.
So is that the direction you're going? Are you going Google? You guys are going Google Cloud?
No. That was my previous job.
Okay.
We evaluated different providers and we went with Google Cloud because of all the feature sets that they had, and like just the zero downtime stuff was just amazing for us. And over there, the money wasn't really a concern per se. So, but at BP, we're forging ahead with our Microsoft partnership, and I think it was also announced in the news and stuff like that. So we're going to continue to host our stuff with Microsoft and with SAP HANA in the Azure cloud.
We
really want to get. Oh, sorry. Please go ahead.
I was curious what's happening with your path to S4. You probably have a very complex environment. I'm wondering how fast you're moving to S4.
So actually, we're already with S4. We did that very recently, and again, so like our business unit is small, and we just deal with like some of our onshore assets, right? So as far as our business unit is concerned, I mean, we're obviously still reporting up to the big boss in UK, but with our business unit, we already did that migration to S4. So it, obviously there were some learnings that came out of it. There was, there's always like some bumps there, but it was fairly simple for us.
Has it yielded? I mean, upgrades for upgrade's sake are never great. So the question is, have you actually driven productivity improvement, operational improvement?
Yeah, I don't really have. I wasn't involved in that day to day when they were doing that. So, from my understanding was that there was definitely some improvements, and we've now been expanding what we're doing with SAP. So, we're definitely growing in that space.
So last one for you. That's the topic of the call, is what's happening to roadmaps. So I'd love to hear just one tidbit from you. What, in this current world, what's happened to your roadmap? Has it gotten accelerated? Have you stripped it down to bare metal? What's actually happening here in terms of what's COVID done to your SAP, your SAP roadmap?
So what's funny is that if you look at the roadmap from 3 years ago, like nothing's really changed. We're still forging ahead on our 3-year plan or 5-year plan, whatever it was. But it's like we're just having to do with, I would say, less bodies. So, I think we have less, I think you saw in the news, like the BP let go of like 25%, had a headcount reduction of 25%. So, unfortunately our roadmaps haven't changed. What we need to deliver hasn't changed, but we need to do it with less.
Yeah.
Is that true? That's incredible. Think about that. Like, first of all, it's incredible if you're actually able to maintain your roadmap at 20. Think about that. You 25% reduction, and you're still hitting the roadmap.
That's the goal, man. I mean, for this year, I think we have over delivered, and for next year, we're hoping to, again, be as close to the roadmap as possible. So,
can I ask this group? Has everyone just gotten more productive in this world? Like, because I see that. I see every group I talk to is talking about tighter team, tighter team, tighter team. And I say, are you doing less? They say no.
I don't think it's a productive actually, but people are working more number of hours. Yeah, I treat that productive means in the same number of hours if you do more work. That's a productivity. But I see that people are working more number of hours. That is a problem, right?
Yeah.
So, for the
I think unfortunately, Ravi, business doesn't agree with you. I think business goes, I get the same amount or more productivity out of the same number of people or for the same cost, right?
Right.
So therefore I make fewer people do more.
I agree. When you look from the corporate side, yes, that's true, but it's not sustainable, right? Because when you look at from the employee model and all, it's not sustainable if you're asking them to work 12 hours a day.
Right? We see that.
I think what's happened.
Hold on, let's go to Dave here for a sec. Sorry, Dave.
No, I was gonna say what I think has happened, to be honest, is that a lot of people are working their commute time. I mean, my commute, because our company moved about 2 years ago to a location where my commute doubled. So I save over 3 hours a day by not having to commute. So I'm more than willing to work even 2 more hours, and I'm still end up ahead.
I was just about to say the same thing. Like I have a 3-hour commute, just going and coming, and I'm just working it.
Isn't that insane? It took a pandemic to realize that a 3-hour commute wasn't productive.
What we're seeing is an improvement in maintenance of existing, but we're seeing a decrease in the closing of new business.
Oh, okay. What I believe, or at least my current theory, is that, Ravi, we're going to figure it out in terms of productivity. Those projects that are just a waste of time, we're going to drop them a lot more quickly, much more quickly than we would a year or two ago. And, we're going to cut some corners, and I think we're going to probably improve productivity. Because if you can't hire another body and you can't increase your budget, but you have to deliver, I don't know.
Yeah, in other ways, sometimes I'm a more of an in-person guy, so I feel in a different way. But, we are running like group reporting consolidation project, right? We have people from Brazil, we have people from Boston, and I have people from Philippines. And when we if it is actually the discovery time, I would have put everybody in one room and do the whiteboarding, and now I can't put it. So for the same topic, it takes hell a lot of time to really get everybody to understand then doing in the one room. So in a way, I would say the productivity is going in south because people have to spend more time to really understand because they are not together, right?
Right. Excellent. Let's get one or two other voices involved here. By the way, we're going to do a vote. We've got Bill, Sandy, Alex, and Ravi. So we have to do a vote here at Best Backdrop. Before we do that, let's go to Brian Gallup. Brian, do me a favor, give a quick intro here. Street Lane Homes, nice to meet you. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, pleasure. Street Lane Homes is in the single family home investment or rental space. So we're single family home rentals. We provide marketplaces for investing in single family home rentals. with the backdrop of having a property management, real estate management group up behind that to take care of those homes. I think a couple things to talk about, just what people have said is, from a productivity standpoint, I think there's also has to be the concern about burnout. You mentioned the 3-hour commute times. I'm part of the 2-hour one, but interestingly, talking with peers, that 1 hour or even an hour to 2 hour was somewhat of a debrief, right? I know that you may sound crazy, but if you're waking up at 8 o'clock and 7 o'clock in the morning and then work until 7 p.m., I have heard and seen, not just internally but across peers, from the burnout.
Yeah,
that's across personnel platforms, right? Whether you're talking about IT and technology, or you're talking about business users, right? So it's across both sides. So that would be one perspective on the productivity. On the way to roadmaps, we have definitely become much more. We went through with COVID, went through a 30% RIF, dropped 30% of our workforce. So obviously doing more with less has been the push. 2020 run roadmap, we're definitely much more refined and disciplined now. We're not chasing after some of those like to haves. It's definitely focused on what's our analysis and putting in, effectively expanding more into a program management where we're getting in and clearly putting in a discipline to determine what are the projects that are going to move that needle, as opposed to chasing after some of the smaller inconsequential.
Hey, Brian, I hear about home purchase to rent. Are you an SAP shop?
No, we are. We run our internal piece on our side from our acquisition platform and underwriting platform, and then we use Yardi systems from a property management system. And we have Salesforce. We have Salesforce involved in the mix as our workflow system.
Simple question: what's happened to your IT roadmap for next year? You pulling it back? Too early to tell, or are you?
No, it's definitely shrunk. We're focused and becoming leaner on what the projects we're going after. So definitely been cut back.
What'd you want to do last year that's now off the table?
One of the things specifically, we were using a licensed, shall I say, lead to lease platform that's accepting applications and running through a workflow all the way to the point of executing a lease. That is what we were using. We're using a third party. We were endeavoring to build out our own. We've now put that on the table until we can come back around next year. So that's just one example of building out a custom to support our business versus using a third party licensed product.
Got it. Understood. All right, Brian, lots of luck to you, and thanks for joining in here. Appreciate it.
No doubt.
Hey, let's go one more. That's Lori Pond. Lori, Auto Club, part of AAA.
Hi, how are you? Yes, I'm still on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Thanks for joining today. Nice to see
you. Thank you. Nice to see you as well. We at AAA insure, so we're a bank for our AAA. We're part of the federation of 25 clubs across the US and Canada. We're the second largest club in the federation. Mm-hmm. So basically our AAA has kind of that Southeast and Midwest corridor. So we have 14 states. We also have Colorado as part of club. That's a recent acquisition. So in saying that, we have a lot of different systems. We were on a journey with SAP. They were our SI going back to 2008. So I led the project to implement SAP Financial Services Claim Management. We have we are a PeopleSoft financial shop. But we have the SAP FIGL implemented for our instance of claims. So when you file a property and casualty claim with my company, so I work for the insurance company side, we file our claims through SAP. We're one of 2 North American carriers that use SAP. So in terms of COVID, you were talking about the roadmap. We've had discussions with the SAP Newtown Square Development Group about moving towards the HANA platform. We are not currently on the HANA platform. So we've had a lot of discussions. We are, from a COVID perspective, I lead our claim transformation efforts. I also have an operational piece of my job. So I lead our contact center. I have an adjusting unit reporting to me. So we're big in the property and casualty space. In terms of projects, I led a bidirectional texting project this year. That was, so initially we had a very structured roadmap where we were going to implement, and it was piloted in my unit. And instead of taking a gradual approach to implementing 950 users. We did what we call a light switch approach. So we're working with startups, a lot of insurtechs, a lot of fintechs. We are rolling out virtual payments in 4Q, leading that project. That's probably why I have tons of bags in my eyes. And we're also looking towards more digital commerce options. So our mobile app is still very much MVP. So those are some of the projects that I'm working on.
Goodness. All right. I have to ask you, your PeopleSoft ERP.
Yeah.
That's old stuff.
Yep.
All right.
That is not in my hemisphere. That's the financial guys at AAA and HR. So we are still a PeopleSoft shop. Yep.
Unbelievable.
We actually have a coding block. That's a whole nother banana. But yeah, so I mean, I think our issue with SAP is the development of the claim application. We're only one of 2 companies that use the platform in North America. So that's presented some challenges, I think, to iterating that solution. SAP, all roads do lead to HANA. So they had the talk with us. So they're going to support us through 2027. It was 2025. So we have that decision to make. And so those discussions, I had a meeting with my CIO and SAP, and so we're having those discussions.
But you've 5 years ahead of you here in terms of having to make a decision. That's pretty good runway.
Yep.
Compared to what I think they're doing elsewhere. Are you staying with claims? I mean, when I hear claims, I think Guidewire, Sapiens, you know the group.
Yeah, Duck Creek, yeah.
Duck Creek. Do you stay with SAP over the long term? If you had to guess, crystal ball stuff.
I'm not optimistic because of the runway in that space is not really long, and I just don't think that's a product that has really sold and caught fire, at least stateside. So there's a lot of custom code that we have to implement, and they're not iterating as we would expect. So that's a challenge that we're all talking about. And then all roads lead to HANA, we would have to completely change our infrastructure. And so those are big decisions. So no immediate plans, but certainly discussions are being held about our road mapping.
I get it. But is that the innovation? Because what you talked about was virtual payments, digital platform. You weren't talking about general ledger or any of that stuff.
No, I'm not finance. I support them. They're a stakeholder. So I have a technology side of my job and I have an ops side of my job. So I worked at Geico, worked at AIG. So, the ops side of my job keeps me honest when I'm developing solutions. So I lead our business technology team. I'm not in IT, but I know enough to be dangerous. Just got my PMP. So, I operate in that project management space. So, but from a solutioning standpoint, we're really evaluating what makes sense for us.
That's great. So what has COVID done to all this?
So a couple of things. I mean, I lead our contact center. We went from 0% virtual to almost 100% virtual across our footprint, except for essential roles. So I have over 130 people reporting to me. I have 3 people in the office. So when we look, we're indexing against that CX ecosystem, not just insurers, because that is not the customer's barometer. So for us being customer facing, I think we're really trying to think in terms of limited time scope budget. I think we're all facing those issues. So we have to decide first things first. So we're working with a consultancy to build out our roadmap. But for us at ACG, we're a bank, we're a motor club, we're a travel agency, we're also an insurance company. We have a 8-person roadside service group that delivers membership services like a battery or a tow. So we're evaluating all of those pieces, including the contemporization of our workplace policies. I mean, 0% virtual in March to 100% almost. It's pretty epic. So like telephony, chatbot, all of those things we're looking at. IoT is big for us, computer vision, ML, I could go on and on.
Every buzzword in the book.
Yeah, because I mean, it touches our space, and we're seeing a lot of startups target insurance, property and casualty. Amazon just started writing insurance in India, 0 paperwork. So there are things, Google is in our backyard with their, operations, Tesla. So the OEMs are starting to encroach. So there's a lot of different things that we need to think about, but those are certainly all on the horizon. It's fun because, I do webinars, I do panels, and it's fun keeping up, but the pace has definitely increased for sure.
Last one, Lori, what's your contact center platform?
So our contact center platform is Pure Connect. So we've been using that platform for well over 5 years. So actually 2016, now that I think about it, I think we fully migrated.
Genesis?
Yep, Genesis, yep.
Awesome. Hey, thanks so much. You really are in a fun spot. You're doing a lot of innovative applications. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Let's go to Carl. Carl, let's wrap up here today. And by the way, I love doing this with the team at T-Systems. So Carl and his team across T-Systems cover all of these application stacks. So if people want to dig deep in any of these areas, it's what we're doing here. And if you have a colleague who you think is going through some of these decisions and might benefit from those intros, that would be appreciated as well. Carl, any closing comments here before we do our final vote?
Ooh, I think there's been some time. We talked a little bit about infrastructure. I think really, like I said earlier, our job now, or our vision now, is to make that kind of, to abstract that, right? Again, we believe in any cloud. So whether it's, if Google's the right feature set for you, if AWS or whatever, in any of those spaces, I think it's about creating that functional layer for you, and then being able to take advantage of the best of all, or some, or whatever works best for you, right? So making it less, it's much less, conversation is much less about infrastructure these days, and much more about functionality and business process and all of those things. For those that are looking, truly talking about the journey, the old school way is, right, what's the business case, right? Help me do a cost benefit analysis and show me, the value of going to S4, right? And it needs to provide some kind of monetary return. And, I don't know, the saying we say now is, there is no business case for S4, there's a case in the business, right? There's things that there's capability that your business needs, right, to keep up with a lot of things that Lori talked about, all these new initiatives, all these types of things that are really only going to be addressed by more advanced systems such as S4. So I think really, if you're in that situation and you're feeling pressured to come up with a business case for S4, it's more going to come from the business saying, we need this capability. We need these things. What is the value of that capability to our business? What is the risk of not having it? Are we going to be obsolete? Are OEMs and other things going to encroach on our space? Are our competitors going to eat us up because they have capability that we don't have, right? So I think you really need to drive the case from that side and spend much more time looking at it from that perspective, if that makes sense. It's not the old school, you're going to save this and here's your maintenance savings and boom, there's a simple thing. So I think those are two key things. Last thing, if you're looking for immediate, like I talked about a little bit, if you're looking for an intermediate step and you want to clean up your environment, there's a lot of things, a lot of benefits of moving to HANA. We've had some big customers, big global customers make an intermediate investment in HANA and moving those systems there, cleaning up, maybe eliminating some databases, simplifying their data warehouses, all of those types of things, cleaning some of that up in preparation ultimately for that next step, or frankly, just improving the user experience for what you have today, right? You can ride, as SAP has pushed the deadline, if you will, out, now you can ride that HANA train for a little while and get some benefit there. So there's a lot of intermediate things that you can do. Lastly, I'd throw out, there's a lot of value in assessments, and starting to get ready. There's some really powerful tools. A company we work with is SNP, right? We're a global partner with them, and they have some really cool technology that can help you look at specifically what functionality are you using. And we just did a analysis for a customer. 70% of the customizations that they wrote are not being used at all, or haven't been used, and we can tell them the last time they've used it. So 70% of the customizations that they have in their environment haven't been used in 3 years or more. So they're only using 30% of that. So that's kind of information that if you're going to move to S4, you want to know, what are we actually using? If you have a legacy SAP ECC environment, what am I actually using? What can I eliminate? What makes sense? Greenfield, brownfield, all those traditional discussions. So start looking at those things, and that can help you build your business case, or your case in the business, frankly, for the transformation. I'll just leave it with that.
Great, Carl. Thank you very much. Congratulations there to. Well, let's see if maybe Sandy can pull out a last-minute win but I think Alex is up like 4-2. Anyone?
Are
Any
we
last
voting?
votes?
Oh, okay. Oh, here we go.
3, 2, 1. Alex, congratulations. You got it, man.
No.
Thank you, and everybody. Have a good day. Take care.
Right on. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate you. Bye now.